Greetings again, YouTube. All right, for this video here, as the title says, this is going to be another Q&A. This is number 2. So, same background, same place, same method, same procedure. So I'm going to read these questions, and then I'm going to answer them to the best of my abilities, the best I can. Try to answer them pretty thorough for you guys. I gotta hold this camera. I was gonna put it down on my. Let me see. All right, I'm gonna read this question. These questions. I got a total of 13 questions. So I'm gonna do what I did last week and read them, and then I'm gonna give my response to them. All right. So first question by Houston Baseball Talk. Thanks for all of the information that you have shared over the years about language learning. My question is about listening comprehension. When I talk with people that I speak slowly, I understand about 80 to 90% of what they're saying. I might not know a few words, but otherwise I can communicate with them fairly easily. But when I talk with people that sing very rapidly, my comprehension decreases dramatically. What can I do to improve this issue with my listening skills? All right, great question. This is a very common question I get from a lot of people. They say that they have a problem understanding people when they speak fast versus when they speak slow. So the bottom line to this, you just have to get used to it and you have to keep doing it. If you constantly practice with someone almost every day, you hear that language almost every day, you're being asked certain things, basically you engage in the conversation with them, get in the habit of doing that every day, you'll get used to, you'll begin to get used to the speed of the language, but it takes time. It makes sense that you'll be able to understand things spoken slower versus faster, but you have to, over time, because you naturally just get used to the language, so when you hear it, it doesn't matter how fast it is, you'll be able to understand it. I would just suggest keeping, have some friends or somebody that you can speak that language with pretty much every day, so you can get used to it. You can do your listening and all that good stuff, listen to radio, watch TV and stuff, but you definitely want to have someone who can fire the language back at you, because that's the most important. I mean, you can do a lot of input, listen to all this stuff, but it really, when it comes down, when it comes to like real life situation, it's a little different because you're not used to that language being fired at you. You know, it's just like you train in the martial arts. If you train in martial arts, you know, you practicing all this stuff, your kicks and your roundhouse kicks and all that, but when you get into a real fight, it's going to be different. You know, that's the same thing with the languages. You just have to get in the habit. You have to get in the habit of just speaking that language with someone every day, and just make it a habit. And then over time, you'll start getting used to the speed. But at the beginning stages, you're not going to be able to understand when you're not going to be able to understand when that language is spoken rapidly, because you're still new to that language. You haven't spent enough time with it. You haven't practiced enough. You don't have enough experience speaking that. So I hope I answered your question thoroughly. That's your solution to beginning to understand rapid speed. Let's go on to the next question. And thanks, by the way, for answering this question and viewing my videos. The next question is by Gangi Skon. What difficulties did you come across when learning Korean, and how did you overcome them? Also, what did you find to be the hardest part? Great vid, by the way. Okay, this is by Gangi Skon. So Korean, as you know, I started learning Japanese before Korean, so I kind of had an edge because I had a little experience with Japanese, so it gave me an understanding of the grammar. So when I started Korean, it was like Japanese all over again. So I wouldn't say I had many difficulties with Korean. I mean, the pronunciation is more difficult in Japanese. I would say the pronunciation and some of the, like when you read, it's tricky sometimes when you read. I mean, I'm used to it now, but when I started before, it was tricky because it doesn't always look the way like the way you pronounce the word, it's not always spelt like that, you know. And I found that to be the most difficult part of Korean. Also, you know, Chinese being my second language, a lot of the vocabulary, I think it's 60% of the vocabulary from 60% of Korean vocabulary is Chinese origin. You see, so that's another plus. So yeah, thanks for the question, Gangi Skon. Best wishes for you learning Korean. I assume that you want to learn in Korean, or you plan to learn Korean. All right, next question. How much do you travel? This question is by Global Donica. I don't travel. If you're talking about outside the U.S., I don't travel. I don't do that very often. But well, even in the U.S., just recently I began to travel more often outside Ohio and Columbus because of my level up stuff, and I'm going to be doing that more often. And I may even go to a lot of the South American countries. But yeah, like in the past, like when I started making YouTube videos around that time, I didn't travel very much. But like I said, that's about to change. I'm going to be doing a lot more traveling, especially here within the U.S. Another question by Global Donica. How do you feel about grammar learning? I believe grammar is essential, yet many schools steer away from it. Why? Your thoughts? That's interesting that you said. Many schools steer away from it, because in my experience, they don't. Grammar is a big part of formal language learning. And well, first of all, how do I feel about grammar learning? I think grammar is essential. I think it's important. And see, a lot of people misunderstand me when I talk about grammar, because they say, oh, you need grammar eventually. You know, I never said that you shouldn't learn grammar at all. Grammar is very, very good. My problem is when I'm a beginner and trying to learn grammar, when I haven't had the experience with that language, that's when it becomes a problem. Now, I can talk like this because I have a lot of experience. I've tried to learn languages with grammar. It's just not for me. You know, to each his own, I guess you can say that. But I found in my experience that when you haven't used that language enough, haven't practiced enough, you don't know anything about that language, but then you trying to dive into the grammar, it's stressful because you're trying to understand something that you have no knowledge of. You know, you can't, I mean, you can do it to a certain extent, but I found it to be very difficult. So I don't like to touch grammar until when I reach at least an intermediate level. Once I get to that stage, that's the time to start looking at grammar stuff, because that's actually when grammar becomes very useful, and you'll be able to learn a lot more structure. You'll feel more comfortable because you will have understood a lot more than you would have if you would have started learning grammar at the beginning without practicing that language, without playing with it. So I feel that, you know, intermediate level, around that stage, is when grammar is very, very, very useful. So yeah, and you said, I don't know why you said many schools steer away from it. I mean, I've been out of school for a while. I mean, I don't know how they teach it now. Maybe they starting to teach. Maybe they're changing their approach. But when I was in school, it seemed like all of them there was some grammar. You know, for example, like we'll be testing on charts. We have to learn these certain charts. We'll be tested on them. Like that's all grammar stuff. It's not real language learning to me. You know, that's me though. Yes, but those are my thoughts on the grammar. So grammar is good. Grammar is very good. But the question is, at what point is it good? That's the question. Next question. This is by Paul Setti. Have you ever considered learning a different accent in English? I'm from New York, but I find that your accent in English really lacks enunciation, which is typical of mid-Western English. You totally break YouTube's translation algorithm. It will be fun to play with it. Yeah, I find, you know, as an avid language learner, naturally I find different accents to be Very interesting. Very, very interesting. I remember a while back I was thinking about trying a British accent. So who knows in the future, I may get into it, but right now I'm not really thinking about doing it that much. But yeah, we have a lot of different accents in the US, man. It's like, down south, Midwest, the East, the West Coast. It's very interesting how people speak differently, But we'll see. We'll see in the future. Thanks for your question, Paul. Thanks for viewing. Next question by Felicia Folum. What's your best tip for listening practice? My best tip for listening practice. Okay. I will say, let me look at what's more efficient. When you're able to listen to something without having to be in front of a computer or without even having your book, I would suggest doing something like that. See, you can do that with podcasts, any type of radio, or any course that you're using that has the audio. Anything that you can listen to while you're taking a shower, while you're shopping, or doing anything else. It's like passive listening. I would suggest doing something like that, especially if you're busy too. If you don't have the time, it's really easy to turn something on and just listen to it, especially you can do that like the whole day. It's really easy to do that. Unless you need to hear something, then you turn it off. But I would suggest that. Get in the habit. If you can get yourself in the habit of listening to something, without having to have a book or being in front of the computer, that will help out a lot. That's my best tip for listening practice. So this question is by Mito Gonzalez. Hola, would you say that learning new languages and understanding new philosophy through culture has contributed to your thoughts on happiness? Gracias. So this question is by Mito Gonzalez. That's a great question. I never really thought about it like that, in that way. Maybe, perhaps. I would definitely say that me opening myself up to learning different cultures, different languages, has opened up my mind. Like, making this decision has definitely changed the way I thought like years ago, because I met so many people with different mindsets. I met some people that thought a certain way and I didn't understand, and I try to understand, and it's definitely, I would say languages has something to do with that. But also I'm 35 years old, I'm growing, so that comes with maturity as well. So I'm at the same time I'm maturing. Yeah, so my maturity and the things that I've learned over the years, I will say that have contributed to that. But I'm leveling up every year. That's what life is all about, leveling up. So I'm not the same person. I'm the same person, but I will always have something new that I learn that will have an effect on the way I think. That's called growth. Next question. Oh, thanks for your question, by the way. Appreciate it. Thanks for viewing. Welcome to my channel. Gustavo Moses, there's something I need to ask you about Chinese Mandarin. Is it a problem to learn only the characters in the beginning? I have been memorizing it in a few weeks and I'm able to recognize about 100 characters. The problem is that I have been seeing videos of people saying it's not a good idea at all because I won't be able to form sentences just knowing the characters. As you have experience in the language, what would you recommend? I really don't know how should I study to learn to form sentences. I think it's a natural thing that Chinese people learn along the time. Yeah, I know what you mean. Maybe people thought that, they probably thought that you were just learning random characters. But what I would do if you taking that approach, and now that approach is good. You can take that same approach. You're basically just kind of I don't know how if you're writing the characters or whatnot, but that approach is good. But you might want to make sure when you learn the characters, make sure you learning stuff that you can use in actual sentences. If you just learning this over, like you learning like, I don't know, paint bucket or breaks up a car or a rooftop or something like that. Like that type of stuff. I'm not saying that stuff is useless, but I don't see how you're going to use that in sentences when you don't know the basics, the basic structure. So I would say learn characters that are related to the structure, the basic stuff. You know, ask yourself, okay, you know, in this conversation, I'm going to say, how do you, where are the characters for it? And just learn like that. Because once you're able to put stuff together, then you can learn what you want after that. Like you can, it doesn't matter what character it is, you can learn. But when you're able to form sentences and talk, have a pretty good idea how to do that stuff. When you go off and learn other things, you'll feel good about yourself because you already know how to put sentences together. I mean, that's what I would do. That's my advice. So, yeah, as far as Chinese people, how they learn growing up, I don't know. They, you know, they were doing it since they were kids. So, you know, kids learn differently. Thanks a lot for your question, Gustavo. Timothy 21. Hey, Moses, I know this isn't related to Polish, but do you have any advice on where to start to learn Hindi, Marathi, or Tamil? I don't, it's hard for me to say, because when people ask me where to start, they have to tell me what their goals are. And when I say goals, I mean, what are you trying to do? Are you trying to be able to read this language? Are you trying to be able to communicate this language? Are you trying to just be able to understand? Because you can't, if I tell you, if I give you some advice on how you can start this language, it might not work for you because it's probably this is not how I want. You'll probably say, oh, this is not how I want to learn this language. This is not, I'm not interested in being able to do this in this language. So really, if you see this video, comment, let me know, send me an email, or comment in the comment in the comment section and ask me, or let me know what are your goals? What do you want to do? That way, when you tell me what you want to do, I can give you a pretty good idea of what you need, what you can start with and whatnot. So thanks for your question, Timothy. Leo Bourdan, I hope I pronounced that correctly. Hi, I guess I'll use a different question than fluency. How many languages could you hold your own in a conversation basic, or how many languages have you studied significantly? Thanks. Great question. I like this question. I like this. This is a, I studied, well, as far as how many languages I've studied significantly, definitely, I would say over 50. I don't know the exact number, but now it's been over 50 languages. It's up there. Some of those languages I haven't touched for several years, so I forgot so much of the language. Naturally, when you start learning all these different languages, now it comes a point in being able to maintain them. So I would say over 50 languages significantly that I have studied. It's probably between 60 and 70 languages, something like that. I'm not sure what the exact number is. You asked me about how many languages could you hold your own in a conversation basic. Yeah, so that number, oh man, how many languages can I actually speak like that? It's over 10, definitely over 10. Maybe 12 or 13. Man, I don't even know the exact number. I need to, you know what I need to do? I need to sit down, because I don't really pay attention that much. I don't keep track. I just learn, and whatever I can do, I can do, and you know. But I know it's over 10. It's probably about, I would say, yeah, I don't want to make up a crazy number, but it's over. I'm gonna say it's over 10. Definitely over 10. Definitely over 10. Thanks for your question, Leo. Thanks. Welcome to my channel. Thanks for viewing. Thanks for your question. Global Donic again. Hi again, buddy. How do you feel about using apps for language learning? Apps are good. I use a couple apps. I use Duolingo. I use Memrise. I probably use Duolingo more than any other app. And then Hello Talk, if you want to count that. I mean, that's an application. That's, they don't have any, like, it's not like Duolingo per se. Is you can practice with people. I use that every day. So I think those apps are very useful, especially when people are en route and they can't always be at home to study. That's where Duolingo was very good, because, you know, I mean, you have to use other supplementary if you want to really get to a level of speaking, basic conversation at least. You can't use Duolingo by itself; it won't help you with that. But it will help you to practice a certain vocabulary, you know. And I've been using it since over a year, and it's good. I would highly recommend it to people. But if you're serious about really learning a language to the point of being able to speak with people, Duolingo is not going to help you. It's not going to be adequate. But it's really good. If you, like I said, if you're en route and you're busy, you have a lot of things going on, and you don't have time to get in some hardcore language studies, then just open up Duolingo and play with that. You know, get your daily goal for that day, and bam, you're done. Because it's better than nothing. You don't want to just ignore the language. So yeah, I'm for language apps. Apps are good. Thanks for your ketchup. I just heard my mom say something about ketchup. I was about to say thanks for your ketchup. All right, thanks for your question, Global Donegan. Pink Ribbon. How do you manage to increase your listening comprehension with material which has no transcript available, like interviews, radio podcasts, and so on? If, for example, you're listening to a radio interview and you hear a word that you are supposed to know but you forgot the meaning of, do you stop to check the dictionary? In Japanese, it happens a lot to me that I understand a word in its written form, but when the same word is used in speaking, I fail to make the connection and I'm able to recall its meaning. Obviously, with a transcript, you can check the written counterparts, but unfortunately, learning material part, there aren't many native material transcript in Japanese. Okay, thanks for your question, Pink Ribbon. Yeah, I know what you mean. I was talking about this before, but normally I do this way at the beginning as a complete beginner too. I like to listen to like interviews, radio. Oh, my legs are showing. Show my little legs here. I like to listen to interviews, watch some TV shows or whatever. But when I do that, I don't do it to listen. I mean, I don't do it to understand what's being said, because I'm obviously not going to understand, because I'm still a complete beginner. I like to do that for extra exposure, listening, the sounds, the rhythm of the language. I like to do that very often. Now, once I get on a higher level, my vocabulary bank has increased, then I will try to listen carefully and see what I can understand and whatnot. Now, like you said, if there's a word that I hear that I think that I should understand and I can't recall it, then yeah, I'll pause it or whatever and look in the dictionary. That's what I would do. But I don't know at what point you try to listen to the material. But if you're a beginner and you're trying to understand everything that's being said, it's not possible, because you haven't even spent enough time with the language. It's going to take it's going to take time before you can start really understanding what's going on, and a lot of contact with the language. So, like I said, for me, I do that when I do that at the beginning. I only do it for getting the rhythm and the accent and all that stuff down, getting the feel of it. You know, I don't care if I don't understand anything at that point. So, yeah. So, like I said, when that time comes, when I start doing that, my comprehension will have improved a lot. Because why? Because I already have interactions with these other native speakers. I'm talking with them very often, and then I got my reading going on, and then when I turn whatever it is, like an interview on, and I start listening to it, then I start hearing vocabulary I already learned or I heard from my friend or whatnot. So doing all that, you got to do everything together if you want to have a fruitful experience with this. Do everything, chatting, talking with friends, reading, and all that stuff. It will be great, trust me. Thanks for your question, Pink Ribbon. Let's go on to the next one. Rubber Band Man 1991. What do you use to measure progress in a language, if you do at all? To what amount do you believe you have to understand to be fluent in a foreign language? They have a lot of these measurements online. Like they have this European scale. They tell you you're able to do this. If you're able to do this, you're considered at this level. You know, I mean, you can search on the internet. It's like what is it called? It's called the CFR. What is it called? CFR scale or something, European, I don't know, just type in European scale, put foreign languages, European scale, and it'll give you all these definitions. They have like A1, B1, C1, C2 being the highest. They start from C2, then C1, and B2, B1, A2, A1, and they just explain like, okay, at A1 you're able to do this. Okay, if you feel that you're able to do all that, that's how you can measure. That's how you can measure your level. That's how you can measure your level. Or if you don't do that, you can like set up a certain placement test, maybe at a university. They'll be able to tell you what level you're on, especially if you sit down with the instructor. They'll be able to tell you. But yeah, it's easy. Just search foreign languages, European scale, and it will tell you. They'll explain to you. Thanks for your question, Rubber Band Man. Okay, I think that's all. Yeah, that's all the questions. Houston, yeah. So yeah, that's my Q&A for this week. If you haven't seen the Q&A for last week, I'll post that in the description area. And like I said before, I will be making these type of videos every week, every Sunday particularly. So my next Q&A will be on Sunday of next Sunday. And if you have any questions that you want to ask me, make sure you pay attention to like this video particularly, you know, because I'll come back here and get some questions as well. And yeah, your question will be answered. Or if I don't directly answer your question, it may be a question that you already asked that you wanted it to be asked. So that is it, guys. Let me wrap this up, and I'll talk to you guys soon, and enjoy the rest of your weekend. Take care.